So when I got the email from the Kent County Drainage Commission just saying, we found some bones, you know, if you're available, would you mind coming up and looking at them, trying to identify them? My name's Corey Redmond. I'm the science curator at the Grand Rapids Public Museum. So I wasn't sure what to expect. You know, it was first thing, you know, in the morning, just got into the office, turned on the computer. So I called and they're like, yeah, if you can come up anytime, it'd be great, as soon as possible. They had already contacted somebody at the University of Michigan that was due to be out there. And so we actually ended up arriving at the same time. Neither one of us really knew what to expect because, you know, you never know, right? We found large bones. Well, we didn't have any images, so how large is it? How many? But as soon as we got on site, we're like, oh wow, there's a lot of bones here. They're very large. And we quickly determined there was many more to uncover.
This is a drain project with Newaygo County. Dale Twenge is the drain commissioner over there, and he's my partner in this project because the drain runs both in Newaygo and Kent County. So this was a petition project from Grant Township Board, and that's what triggered this whole process to evaluate this drain and then proceed to make the improvements that were long time needed. When we had to go through 22 Mile and put a new culvert in to upsize it, that's when we made the discovery.
So the first question is, whose land is it, right? Because whoever owns the land owns the bones. So fossils in the majority of the US are not treated like water or mineral rights. Whoever owns the property owns the fossils, whether it's vertebrate or invertebrate. And, you know, that was quickly easy to determine because, you know, it was a big, you know, multi-county drainage project. They had all their maps. And they're like, oh, it's the Clapp family, and thankfully the Clapp family just lived just literally down the road. So we could walk to their house.
I remember I was on the east side of Kent County when I got a call from my engineer and told me what happened, and I was talking to some property owners, and I said to them, boy, you're gonna like what I was just told. I said, we just uncovered a Mastodon bone in West Michigan. And they just went quiet. It just totally struck them as, that's not possible.
As you can imagine, they were extremely surprised because it was, you know, probably 10 o'clock in the morning. Hi, we all introduced ourselves, and they found a Mastodon on your property. What would you guys like to do? Here are your options. You know, and Courtney and Michael have been fantastic to work with. They were extremely generous donating the bones, but, you know, they had had a late night, you know, the night before due to, you know, being an ER visit. Everybody was fine, but, you know, they hadn't gotten a lot of sleep, so 10 o'clock in the morning, a whole bunch of people they don't know is like, you found a Mastodon. What would you like to do? And go, you know. So, but, you know, we gave them their options, and they spent some time. We probably, you know, gave them a couple hours to be like, well, call who you want to call, talk about it. We'll leave you alone. You know, is it all right if we just continue to excavate just so we have a better idea of what's there? Because, you know, now we know it's 75 to 80% complete, but when we first got on site, we knew there was more to uncover, but we didn't know how complete it was. The bones that they had already uncovered looked to be in really good shape, but, you know, you just never know if that continues. I mean, those could have been the exception opposed to the norm.
My engineer had sent pictures of the first bone that was discovered to Michigan, University of Michigan and Grand Valley, in which then Dale was contacted from the museum, and they verified through the picture that yes, in fact, this is a Mastodon bone. And by the time I got there, they had a part of the pelvis bone uncovered, and when we heard about how old this animal was, I'm looking at that pelvis bone, and it just sets you back thousands of years of what it was like to be standing in that spot when this animal died for whatever reason.
Then when we got on site, again, we didn't know. We didn't know how complete the animal was, what the preservation was like. We also didn't know the area in which the bones went. So the bones were actually found in a very small area, about 13 by 13 feet. It's not a very big area. And they were also very, very shallow. All the bones were less than 32 inches below the existing ground surface. So it was a low spot on the landscape. That's why they were putting in a culvert there. So it had always been a wet spot, you know, or very, you know, small, you know, pond on that parcel of the Claps family land. And it obviously had been a low spot for a long period of time because there was that thick peat layer, that thick, basically it only forms when you have a swamp or a bog or something. Yeah, normally when you find mastodons, especially stuff this complete, is you're 8 to 12 feet down. So usually they're found when people are putting in like a foundation of a house, or putting in drain tile in their field, or maybe redoing a pond or putting in a pond.
The first thing that I thought about was, this is Kent County and Newaygo, this is ours. This is part of our culture here, part of who we are and what happened in our past, and this has to stay here. This is part of us.
So we're here really to talk main part about this amazing discovery, and I mean amazing is probably an understatement, right, of a mastodon. And we're going to unveil some of the bones, and you'll hear why not all of them are out here today, but it fits into an exhibit. And so we planned exhibits many years out in snow, and we're at our core, we're an educational institution, and what are the kind of lessons and hands-on types of learning that you could get from this exhibit on snow? Just broaden perspective and cause questions to be asked in people's minds so they could take it further. And what we liked about the exhibit was the science and just the multiple ways that you can interact. At our core, we're an educational institution, and we really seek to appeal to all learners. And this exhibit has it all. You might guess that I'm a little bit kinetic and tactile, and so it appeals to people like me, but auditory, visual, and so we had this snow. But then, because I believe we operate as well as any efficient business out there, there was an opportunity to purchase an exhibit that was going out of circulation called Ice Age. So can we stitch those together in a way that hasn't been done anyplace else? Yes, we can, because of the talent that we have here in West Michigan.
One of my favorite things about this exhibit, I was telling some other people here earlier, is what I really like about this Ice Age exhibit, and one of the reasons we went for it was it has a lot of hands-on specimens, both real fossils and exact replicas, and it's great. So it's great tactile. Not very often anymore do you have exhibits where you can touch real specimens, and so that's really fun. And there's a huge variety of kind of the large megafauna Ice Age mammals of North America that you find. The mastodon, the mammoth, the giant ground sloth, the glyptodon, stuff like that. So a lot of great hands-on stuff for families and kids of any age to play with or touch.
And then the mastodon gets discovered. Well, from what era? The Ice Age. So now we've got an opportunity to stitch three things together in a way that's not been done anywhere. And the snow exhibit is from the Oregon Museum of Science, and it's traveled the nation, but nobody anywhere is going to see the combination of the exhibit that we have put together here in West Michigan through the talent of our own people. And so that really is the main story.
Word spread very, very fast, and we had people from all departments of the museum come out and help because it was kind of all hands on deck. It was like we put out the call out and everybody responded. I mean, it was a Friday. Hey, you want to come dig up a mastodon? I mean, we had people that had taken the day off, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm coming." So they drove over an hour just to get there to help us, and then the word spread locally very fast. So we had lots of local volunteers, lots of people coming out, lots of kids, that we'd pair up with adults so they could dig. That's one of the things that stands out most to me about this excavation is you had so many people from so many different backgrounds, so many different organizations, and everybody was super excited and was like, what can I do to help to preserve this animal, right? I mean, everybody was just like, what do you need me to do? Just tell me, I'm happy to do it. And, and that was the reaction even at the local level. Everybody was just super excited. They wanted to come out and see it. We were down below. Lots of people were standing on the roadbed, so it was a good view. People watching us work. Lots of people coming out volunteering. What do you need me to do? I mean, some people were just like because you're in a low spot, it was really muddy, so there was lots of standing water. So you spend a lot of time just trying to divert the water so you can see what you're digging. Now, thankfully, we didn't have enough standing water that we had to bring in pumps, but a lot of people, they just spent their whole time just bucketing water out, and they were happy to do it. And that's kind of what you need. They're just like, I'm ready to get wet, muddy, and dirty, and I'm happy just to participate, and that's fantastic.
Let me just say one story, again, because it's always about the stories of just the unexpected kind of things that cause just thought. So I'm down in the hole and digging, and you'll be able to see that from a really unique view. And I'm digging next to a 7th grader. And it's absolutely delightful, just the conversation we're having. And we hit something, and we're digging, and we're gonna get a bone here, And we get down there, and it's orange. It's fiber cable. We uncovered fiber cable. So that was another, I don't know how long of a conversation between the two of us, and we're getting the bone about just that juxtaposition of fiber cable running through this site of an 11,000-year-old Mastodon between a 65-year-old and a 7th grader. Right? His world is different than my world is different than his world, but what a conversation we had. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking to do with this kind of an exhibit by doing everything that we do here. And I'm so glad that you're all here today to be part of this and to help us and welcome the community to this exhibition and the first really unveiling of these bones.
Well, I think it's really exciting. We acquired this exhibit, and we knew that we were going to be updating it and customizing it. I don't think that we could have anticipated that we would find a Mastodon within the timeline of us doing those customizations. So the fact that we were able to find the Mastodon and then dry it properly so that we have some pieces exhibited is huge. And I think it's really exciting. What we wanted to do with this exhibit was create, a localized view of the Ice Age so people can understand that the Ice Age did happen here in Michigan. And what better way to do that than to show off that we have a Mastodon skeleton found right here in Kent County.
This is really good condition. So they're very, very nicely preserved, especially because it's a young animal, so it's still growing, so a lot of its ends are not ossified. But yeah, so these bones are very, very nicely preserved. There's always some gluing and repair and piecing back together you have to do with any skeleton. It just kind of depends on what forces the bones are subjected to over the period of time it's buried. Sometimes they can be crushed. Sometimes if they're super waterlogged, they're real kind of almost soft and spongy. So you have to be really careful because as soon as you uncover them, they just kind of fluff away. So we were very fortunate how well preserved this was. And that was also why we were able to excavate it over, 10 to 12 hours on August 12th in 2022 with, a large group of volunteers, is because the bones were very well preserved and we were working in sediment that was very easy to excavate. Most of the time we were using like small garden trowels, or just our hands, right? So, because it was, once you got below a thick peat layer that we removed with shovels, you could just get on your knees, your hands and knees, and you could just use your hands and just kind of move the soft silt away. You had to use some tools, but yeah, so the preservation of the bone and the matrix of the soil or the sediment really aided in the speed of the process.
I think what's great about the Ice Age Michigan's Frozen Secrets exhibit paired with Snow, Tiny Crystals Global Impact is that on one hand you have this local view of the Ice Age, which we all understand to be a global phenomenon, but then you have a globalized view of snow and how it affects people around the world and how it has affected people for decades. And what's really great about that is that here in Michigan we get a lot of snow for a lot of the year, and we are in that Mastodon migration path, and so we're perfectly positioned with these two to really give a lot of educational background to ice and snow.
We were just displaying a couple of the bones as part of this exhibit, Ice Age and Snow, which opens on Saturday, the 20th. And that's just, because we've had so much interest and the public has been so excited about it, which is absolutely fantastic, we wanted to put something out for people to see. But most of the bones are still drying. It takes about a year and a half for the bones to fully dry. And then, we start the process. Even though the bones are very well preserved, there's always some gluing, some repairing, some putting pieces back together. We'll do that, photograph, do all of our cataloging, and then the long-term goal, of course, is to put the entire specimen on display.
Ice Age is really interesting just because we love the fact that we do have a history with the Ice Age, and what's really great about snow is that snow is really the exhibit snow, I should say. It comes to us from the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. And they are really digital focused with their exhibit spaces. And so if you're a fan of video games, if you like, digital learning styles, that's going to be a really fun exhibit for you. Whereas Ice Age is a little bit older and it's got this really wonderful nostalgic feel and a lot of tactile activities. And so it's really great for all different learning styles. So they pair well together as far as subject matter, but they also pair well together as far as experience.
Usually we're planning our exhibits, 3 years out or more. And we just were slated to do Ice Age and snow, and then we found the Mastodon, and we're like, well, it fits perfectly with Ice Age, right? Same time period, so, and that was decided, when we were originally going to put it out, we didn't know about the Mastodon. It had been decided years ago, so it worked out really well. And that was another reason why we wanted to try to do it, because they're like, well, it fits perfectly, like it's almost like it's meant to be. We're super excited to be able to put a couple of the bones out to show people because we know how much interest there is, and that's fantastic. But we also want to set expectations, right? It's not the entire skeleton. We're not there yet. We are going to put the entire skeleton out, but that's a very long process. I mean, most of the bones are still drying. I mean, we talked long and hard about those bones going out because we don't want to do anything to damage the bones, right? We don't want them to splinter, to crack, but we're confident that they're not going to dry any faster in that enclosed case than they would in the plastic bag. And we really wanted to be able to share it with the public because there's been so much interest in it. And you really want to promote that kind of curiosity, that kind of learning. And it's a local find, and that's great. It's great that people are proud of it and want to know more. So a lot of questions, a lot of curiosity. The big thing is, we don't have, the only part of the skull we have is the complete lower jaw with a full set of teeth. It's beautiful, lower jaw. It's nice that it has a full set of teeth, and that'll be really key to trying to narrow down that age range, 10 to 20 years. But we don't have the rest of the brain case, the rest of the top of the skull, and we don't have any tusks. Those are kind of the two biggest things that most people ask about. Well, understandably so, right? That's what you associate with mammoths and mastodon. Other than that, we are, what else are we missing? I mean, we have a lot of ribs, we have a lot of vertebrae, and there's a few exceptions, but we basically have at least one bone in the limbs represented. So we might not have both the left and the right, but we have one, which is ideal, because then if we want to do the full, like, standing articulated position, we can take that bone and we know that it's a good measurement and we can reproduce it for the other side. We don't have a fibula, which is the smaller of the two lower leg bones. We do have a tibia, we don't have a fibula. That stands out. We have most of the bones in the hands and the wrists, same with the feet and the ankles. I mean, there's some that we're missing, but we have both of the scapula, both the shoulder blades, both halves of the pelvis. So, I mean, we have a lot of it. But, I mean, there's a lot of bones, right? A lot of small ones that we don't have. We don't have a lot of the phalanges, the bones of the fingers. We do have some, but, I mean, you have 5 fingers, so that's a lot of bones. It was super exciting when the one that the family wanted to donate it, and then, because it was me and Dr. Scott Bell from the University of Michigan on site first, then we had a conversation of like, we want to see this preserved. The family wants to see it preserved. There's pros and cons for it coming here or going to University of Michigan, and we just came to agreement that as long as it went to one institution, obviously we really wanted it, but yeah, it was super exciting when the family wanted to donate it, and the University of Michigan was totally like, they want to donate to you guys, great, we'll work with you. It's a collaborative project like anything. So yeah, it was super exciting. I mean, when I got on site, you always hope for that, but you never know. Like, didn't know what to expect, just show up, what can I do to help? Was not expecting to walk away at the end of the day with a mastodon as a new donation to the museum. So that's the best case scenario, right, as far as I'm concerned.
This will be with us until September 3rd. So if you feel that heat wave this summer, come and visit us and you can come chill out. And no park is required to play in the snow, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So.